schools that will really do well in the future are not going to be schools which produce the highest scorers, but who are developing children with the mindset, skill set to be good problem solvers and solution creators, right? And that's the ultimate goal of education. See, one thing that I truly believe, skills, opportunities, exposure, all of these are interrelated, so important. But fundamentally, every child needs it at least, if not many consistent experiences. I mean, that's our goal, but at least one experience in their entire early years, in their school years, that makes them believe in themselves. If I had to choose the top 5 skills that children need to have for the future, it's a process and an experience for children to empower themselves with essential skills, and through the process also have the opportunity to prepare themselves, learn from the best in the country.
Hi, my name is Prishita. We're sitting at the Indian Institute of Creative Skills at Made for Media, a space where we discuss the future of media entertainment industry and its creative skills. Honored to be here today with Pranjal Gundesha. She's the founder of Innoventure, who recently struck up a very interesting collaboration with the Media Entertainment Skills Council. Her accomplishments go beyond my comprehension right now, so I'm very excited to get into all of the exciting things that they've done. So Pranjal, first of all, thank you so much for being here. And I would love to kickstart by asking, now that MESC and Innoventure have formalized an MOU and a collaboration, where do you see this going and where do you see this taking us?
So I think at the outset, I'm really glad that this collaboration has happened, because it's the gap in the education system has been that schools are training children for examinations and the industry is training them for careers.
Right.
It is time that this gap bridges, and it bridges in much earlier. And so with this collaboration, what we're trying to do is jointly reach out to children across the country, where innovation skills and future ready skills can be taught with industry relevance understanding, so that they can meaningfully apply what they're learning. And I think that's going to be the game changer.
Amazing. I'm just going to backtrack, because this collaboration has come after so many efforts and so many initiatives that you've taken at Innoventure already, right? One of the largest platforms for ideation and innovation. Where did the vision for Innoventure come about for you?
Yeah. So this is the 13th year. And honestly, it didn't start as an idea. It started as a question and a need. The question was, how do we prepare children to become solution creators of today, beginning today, right, not something that they foresee in the future. And the need of a platform where children's ideas could be voiced, where children could work on real life projects and meaningfully apply their skills, and a platform which celebrates that. Because let's understand, the Indian education system, we have so many processes that celebrates their marks and Olympiads that check on their, academic excellence, but we didn't have a platform which gives children the ability to work on such ideas, develop these skills, and a platform that celebrates. And that's very important to build the entire ecosystem, so that parents, schools, children, all of that put these skills at the forefront, right? So that was the need. We had to create a national platform to do that, and it's been wonderful that over the years we've now impacted about 2 lakh children, about 2,000 schools, and it's grown organically with schools, parents, the whole ecosystem evolving to its understanding. And I think now it's no more an initiative, I would call it a movement in the country.
I absolutely love that. I think you answered my second question, which was going to be, with the kind of, initiatives that you're doing, what are we expecting the students to be like? But maybe I'll delve into it a little bit deeper as well. So with Innoventure in the picture, how would you describe a student before and after they have, come across Innoventure?
Okay, that's a brilliant one, and I'll give it with an example.
Right.
The point of power of any process, initiative, or educational intervention is that it should either change a mindset, bring about change in the mindset, or empower children with a skill set. And what we've seen children is, or Innoventure do, is through the innovation frameworks that are taught to children, the way they process problems. So instead of saying and seeing a problem and complaining about it, or someone should fix this.
Right.
Now children are saying, okay, maybe I can solve this.
Yeah.
Right. And now they have the tools and means to work on that. And the most beautiful change at the large scale that we've seen is backbenchers and those ones who are usually outridden by
the stereotypes.
Yes, by the academic scorecards,
Right.
are now understanding that they have the ability to be good problem solvers and solution creators, right? So that belief in themselves, I think, is the largest difference that I've seen, and the approach to looking at things around them. The
Absolutely.
shift is, how do I create value in society versus just being consumers or passive viewers and spectators of what happened around them.
That's amazing. I love that. Personally, I also love the fact that we're starting this at the right level, that is the school education level. And with the collaborations that you've done with the schools, you can also give me numbers of how many people, how many schools you've reached out to so far, what the network is like. I'm sure it's going to be growing. But how do we see schools to be a center of this entire transformation that's going to be happening?
I think schooling, India has one of the largest, youth population.
Right.
24% of our youth is in the 0 to 14 age group. So I think it's not just a need, it's an imperative thing. It's essential that we work with them at the foundational years where they are not really unlearning but absorbent to actually developing the skills. Now, schools of the future are going to be not, the schools that will really do well in the future are not going to be schools which produce the highest scorers, but who are developing children with the mindset, skill set to be good problem solvers and solution creators, right? And that's the ultimate goal of education. So schools are going to play a very important role, and I think that's not going away anywhere in the future, but their role is shifting, right? It's extending to not just delivering content, but developing competency, character, exposure. Because I think there is no dearth of intelligence and capability in a country like India. The dearth is in the opportunity and the exposure they get, right? And schools are the best platform to give that to children. And a nation will really become an innovation-driven mission where every child in the country can go with that belief that my ideas matter and I can contribute to that. So schools are going to play an imperative level role in this process.
100%. When you were speaking of the role that schools play, I think, and also the fact that it is also about the exposure and the opportunities they have, I think that comes very blended with the people they spend their time with the most, that is the teachers and their parents. So can you shed some light on how their role as people come into this entire paradigm?
I have huge respect for the teaching community.
Being a teacher yourself, right?
Yes, I love to identify myself as a teacher for more than an entrepreneur or also social impact creator. Teachers are one of the most powerful catalysts in the whole journey.
Right.
Their role is evolving, and they need to go from, they need to be evolved and empowered, I would say. And that's a real need in today's time at scale.
Yeah.
To be great mentors, to develop, to inspire curiosity. Second is give children the confidence. Third is to build character and not just deliver content, right? If that role is evolving for teachers, I think we're in the best fit situation. And with respect to schools developing that environment, I think schools are now realizing this more than ever, and NEP 2020 has given a lot of impetus to skills, and councils like MESC and others are doing a lot in that front to support the schooling system with skills and industry relevant experiences. Like, I'll tell you a small example. Why are academics celebrated? Because we have a report card that comes home at the end of the day, right? So what we're trying to do with schools now through the Innoventure is not just give every child a detailed performance report on their innovation skill set, right? Through a very systematically driven rubrics which gets mapped to innovation processes on how good are they at divergent thinking, how good are they at ideation, how good are they at critical thinking. Skills were never really mapped, right? And then what should a child do to enhance that? Similarly, it does that for the school as well. A whole school performance report on how each grade or the school is doing on these parameters. So while creativity and innovation doesn't have to be necessarily assessed, it has to be mapped, because only what we measure, right? Like it's saying measure what matters.
Right.
And if this matters, it has to be measured not from the point of an assessment, but from the point of view of how do we take it to the next level.
Right.
And schools are doing that, and we'd love to see more schools put that into a process and a structure. I think that's going to be the game changer, that innovation doesn't become an afterthought. It becomes not just a textbook subject, but a culture of the school.
100%, I agree with that. But I would love to maybe understand a little bit. We spoke about how it is important for schools to induce this sense of innovation and curiosity. But I would love for you to explain maybe in depth how. And over there is where I think it'll be important for you to also tell us, what does a day at an Innoventure classroom look like for a student?
Okay, so I think that's a great one, because innovation is such a broad skill set. Now, what do we really do? How do we do it?
Yes.
Right? So, especially through Innoventure, we've created these age-appropriate modules, courses, where children learn innovation frameworks. These are world-class frameworks, where the point of power of a process is what it makes a child learn, reflect, realize. How does it break stereotypes for them, or expand their ability to look through solutions, right? So, for example, a grade 1 child will learn something very simple key called the combination key, of how do you combine two existing ideas to come up with a new idea. While a grade 6 might learn a critical thinking process called stakeholder analysis, right? And given any situation, it's not just me and the people around me, but how many direct or indirect people will get affected, industries will get affected. Because once they do that, they will be more holistic decision makers when they're considering such a large perspective. Similarly, a grade 9 would learn something like systems thinking, modular innovation, and how we're doing it is we have created case studies. We all know Harvard has made it extremely popular, that as a very powerful tool to learn. But we've gone one step further to make it video-based case studies, because children learn powerfully through stories. And stories not of Elon Musk and Apple, but stories of innovation in India at the grassroots level, whether it's the story of Arvind Eye Care being the largest NGO to offer low-cost cataract solutions, to the story of Amul, to the story of Mitti Cool, to the story of how Mission Mangal worked. These are stories through which we are teaching children innovation frameworks. And then it's divided into episodes, because today's Gen Z is looking at bit-sized information. So videos in episodes, then followed through assessments to understand, can they apply what they've learned to real life contexts. So that's stage 1, where it's more like a self-paced process that children go through. Beyond that, they go through a lot of master classes through industry heads, corporate innovation heads of companies, academia heads, and they learn how do we apply those skills. And then once they're going through this process, they're also given real life projects, not really projects, but problem statements, where they get to choose from a large umbrella what is the problem they want to solve, go through the entire design thinking phase, work on ideas using those innovation frameworks, then use tools to create prototypes. And children have not just gone up to there, they've actually gone to file patents, launch social initiatives. So our focus through innovation is not invention or startups and entrepreneurship. It is that mindset that I can solve any problem, whether I choose to be a cricketer, an artist, an entrepreneur, or any given thing. So it's making innovation really a mindset of being a solution creator, right?
That's
and
amazing.
All these processes, I'll give you another example, and it's a really simple example from a grade 2 or 3 question, where we talk about drawing a hungry computer, right? Typically, what we draw is a computer
that is having a lot of food around it. That's what I'm thinking.
Absolutely, right? Then that's stereotypical thinking. Or something as simple as draw an athlete, right? And we typically imagine
a track.
Yes.
A track field and an athlete running.
Yeah, and if more precisely, I had to read your mind, Usain Bolt, right? Because we've subtly gone to see that being programmed, and that's what we've consumed, right? But can an athlete not be a woman? can it not be someone from not the track and field?
Yeah.
Right? Does an athlete always have to be fully abled? Can they not be people with special ability? And mostly, does it have to be someone young?
Yeah.
Right? We have Paralympics and we have Senior Olympics. So there are stereotypes we have at various levels in our thinking.
Right.
And one of the first, most basic premise of innovation is to break stereotypes. Right? And to expand their thinking. So these are processes, very simple. But when children really reflect through it, first time, second time, the fourth time, they have a mindset shift, right? Their approach to thinking itself is different. So that's how we try to really work through processes with children. And it's amazing with the idea children can come up with, right? I think...
so that brings me to my next question, actually. Tell me one of the most inspiring ideas that a student has presented you with that still like stayed with you.
Okay, that would be a tough one, but let me pick up one.
One of the lot, yeah.
This was, I think, 3 years or 4 years ago at Innoventure Finale, and the problem statement that they picked up among the larger umbrella was the problem of vehicular. Horns are free in India, and vehicular noise through horns is a huge part of the, noise pollution in the country.
Right.
And this child came up with this idea of saying, okay, we have GPS enabled cars, why don't we have a system which tracks the number of horns? And he came up with a freemium model of pay-per usage based on an extensive plan and research saying, okay, X number of cities, this is the kind of usage. So you have X number of horns per kilometer per day free. After that, you start paying a premium starting from 50 paise to the number of horns you use.
Yeah.
And if you really go exceed, your license could also be banned. So it's not favoring the the rich in any way. So the whole thing that something is free and therefore it's misused will go out as a psychological change as well, because you're paying for it, you'll be conscious of its usage. So he not just touched upon the problem but also the psychology of how users use it. Second, he said that insight of where the horn is pressed, that'll give the government a lot of data points on what are those places where the infrastructure is actually not good, because that's where the maximum horns are pressed, right? And that's, so the fines will go to government as revenues, the insights will help improve infrastructure, and the whole mindset that I'm paying for it, so we are going to be conscious. I think it was a beautiful holistic solution.
I think it was very inspiring. Now that you've explained it to me, I'm just like, wow, like why didn't we think of this earlier,
Exactly.
That's lovely.
So there have been many. There have also been heartwarming solutions where children have created solutions for like a grade 4 child, and this was during COVID, and one of the problem statements was what do children miss, and he said parks, right? It's such an integral part of childhood.
Yeah.
And he said parks are not inclusive, right, in nature, most of our public parks. And how do we make them inclusive? And he redesigned the slide swing such that, because I think for a specially abled child, being and belonging with everyone else is so important, right? Heartwarming and such a beautiful, it comes from a space of empathy, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's really heartwarming. So sometimes the ideas can have large scale impact, but sometimes it's those little things that they notice, understand and want to innovate that makes the idea beautiful.
100%. I love everything we're discussing right now, and I do think that with the collaboration we've started with MESC, it's going to have a much greater impact, adding to what you've already done, right?
Absolutely.
But when I bring you back to the idea of like what exactly is MESC, are MESC and Innoventure going to be doing together? How does that look like for us?
Great. So there are multiple things and we're still exploring so many possibilities. One of the things that we want to do is to reach out to larger number of schools.
Right.
To let this impact scale out, because there is no cost to the school or the child to avail, world-class access to good innovation, content and curriculum. And that's the objective, because we want to cut across demographics. We already have some of the best schools of the country, the legacy schools of the country doing it because they've been early adopters of such a vision. But something like this should reach out to the last mile, and through these collaborations, it makes access and opportunity to such things available to places we wouldn't otherwise reach out to.
Yeah.
So that's the first. Second is industry interaction. MESC works with the industry very deeply, and we want to make sure that that kind of understanding happens through these masterclasses for children, where they see its relevance in real life, and the connection between, like we said, skills content and real careers as well, right? And because, I mean, in fact, in the media, entertainment, creative fields, the connection is very, very obvious, because, for example, in one phase of Innoventure, we talk about creative articulation, creative representation. All of that gets translated to design careers, right? Or careers in media and communication and so on. So children who are good with that, I mean, we tell children, don't learn metaphors, right? Learn to create your own metaphors.
Right.
And that happens when your concepts of creativity and innovation are beautiful, like you learn to create those by yourself. So I think that's going to be very important. And the third is putting the children, I think one of the most important things for children is to get mentored by the best. So mentoring is one important thing, and ensuring that their voice reaches the right platforms. And I'll give you a very simple example. One of our students was working on these innovation and using Minecraft as a tool to teach concepts. And then she went a step further to help her own school teachers of how to use Minecraft to teach different subjects through a fun way and let children build their projects. One of our mentors at the Innoventure initiative connected with her when she was presenting, and I said, okay, this is a great idea. Now, because they are in positions of power and influence and the right access to opportunities, he invited her to TEDx Pune.
Lovely.
She spoke at the TEDx platform. It went further and said, why don't you apply to the Rashtriya Bal Puraskar? You're doing something fantastic. She went on to win the Rashtriya Bal Puraskar, right?
Beautiful.
So children getting platforms like these and helping them uncover what's possible will happen, and that's something that we're excited about, because when one child does that, it inspires an entire community or a generation to say, oh, she could do it at this age, I can do it too.
Absolutely, that's lovely. I think I'm just like comprehending what's happening right now. It's very nice to hear these stories. I think more than the numbers, I believe this is the greater impact that people should be.
I think it's the most gratifying thing.
Yeah.
And the more parents see, one thing that I've truly believed, skills, opportunities, exposure, all of these are interrelated, so important. But what fundamentally every child needs is at least, if not many consistent experiences, I mean, that's our goal, but at least one experience in their entire, early years, in their school years, that makes them believe in themselves, right? And when they go through such processes at many levels, when they're celebrated, when they're valued, when they voice their opinions, they learn to believe in themselves and say, I can do it too, right? And that's what platforms and initiatives like that, it helps them learn skills, it helps them apply those, uncover possibilities and opportunities for themselves, and most importantly say, that trigger in me, right, happened in those moments in school experiences.
100%,
So I think that's the game changer.
I think when we look back at our building years, I think one of the things that I definitely truly 100% believe in is that nobody can play the role of what a teacher has played in your life. Like until today, I will know which teacher has taught me what, regardless of the subject. I think it's more about the moralities or the way you lead life as well. And I think especially, like you said, that trigger into following something or pursuing something, and I think that's truly beautiful. But I will ask you once more, when we are trying to balance this, especially now that NEP 2020 has also come in, it's perfect on paper, I definitely agree to that, but when we're trying to balance academics and skills and like an ideal classroom, we've spoken a lot about what these things should be, how they should happen, but what exactly is it? What is the ideal classroom? What is that ideal school? And how are we going to take forward academic skills, innovation altogether?
Okay, so the narrative is changing. Initially it was this and that, or that. Now it's changing to this and that. And I think that's important. But I think what is also more important is its integration, because they don't compete with each other's skill set. We talk about the learning pyramid or innovation pyramid when we talk about it. The innovation mindset and skill set is the foundation, right, on which children it's not a subject.
Yeah.
It's about how you learn any subject, right? So when children learn to, no matter what subject they're learning, when they go to say, okay, using this, how can I make this spot, this experience, this product, this process better, right? That's where the shift is happening. Second is that they beautifully complement each other because innovation and skilling are inseparable, right? Only when you can, the goal of education is only when you can meaningfully apply your skills, right? Because marks will help you, will build the right foundation. It'll help you open the doors. Innovation skills will help you unlock, the foundation that you've learned through academics to real life, and it'll define how far you can go, right? Because in real life, that is what's going to be the critical factor, right? That knowledge and academic excellence is important.
Yeah.
What will take ahead is, not the content, because things are changing very rapidly, and no time in history than now has change been so rapid. So what will last and what children really need to take are skills that won't change, will stay valuable, no matter how industries change and technology changes. And what are those skills really? Empathy, ethical decision making, right? The ability to think creatively in situations for solutions, the ability to quickly learn, right? So the agility in learning. These are going to be important skills, and if we can integrate it as a part of the process in learning, it's going to shift from content to competency and capability, right? And that, I believe, is the holistic integration in terms of learning of what an ideal classroom should look like, where children just don't become good content consumers and and create output for that, but they learn to ask better questions, and they learn to take onus of problems and create solutions for them.
Okay, I think we've done a lot of in-depth research about what this can be. I'm going to try to switch this up a little bit.
Okay.
But before, I would just love to understand one last thing. You've already covered it, I believe, but like, what are these skills that a student eventually needs? You said empathy, ethical thinking, and what? Can you build on that a little bit? What do we mean by skills and like innovation there?
Okay, so if I had to choose the top 5 skills that children need to have for the future, I would say first is curiosity, right? Curiosity and critical thinking, to be able to analyze the situations around them, right? Challenge assumptions and take decisions based on what they get as information, because information overload is the reality today. So critical thinking is imperative. Second is the confidence to communicate their ideas, right, and inspire others or get their cooperation to do it. Third is going to be collaboration. We're no more in an era of solo runs. We have to collaborate for larger impact, and that's something that they have to learn by doing and by being. Fourth is the ability to continuously learn and be lifelong learners, right? And what does that so innovation as a mindset is continuously. You can never say this is a perfect product, right? It's going to keep innovating, and that's what innovation tells you. Okay, iterate, create another prototype, create another process, go back to your user and say, can this be done better? Is it relevant even today, right? And say, okay, maybe this idea was great 10 years ago, but it doesn't make sense now.
Yeah, it does make sense today.
So that's the
adaptability.
Yes, adaptability and continuous learning. I think that's fundamentally going to be important. And the last would be character. When I talk about where empathy, right, ethics come in place, we don't need great to build a nation. We don't need great just entrepreneurs or great innovators. We need people who will say, this will elevate and uplift the entire society. And if you look at some of the best entrepreneurs or people who have created large-scale impact, whether you take the Tata's family, they created so much for social good, for the elevation of the society, right? So children who will be remembered for the future, or schools will be remembered not for the infrastructure they've created. I see the way 2000, when we talk about this Viksit Bharat dream, it's not going to be the schools that had the best infrastructure or children, but the ones who could really be good citizens of society, right? And the more technology changes, the more the humane qualities will be the real differentiator.
Absolutely, 100% agree. Now I'm going to quickly ask you, how would you describe Innoventure in 3 words? It's a little basic, but go for it.
So purpose driven, research backed, right? And relevant to real life.
Absolutely. If you had to describe Innoventure in 2 lines to, in layman terms, to a parent, what would it be? What is Innoventure? What is it doing for your children?
It's a process and an experience for children to empower themselves with essential skills, and through the process also have the opportunity to prepare themselves, learn from the best in the country, and apply those skills to create solutions for real life. And if I have to talk from a very, very objective point of view, it's not just the learning, they're also building their profile for things that are going to be valuable. Like today, when we talk about it, CEOs are not looking for your degrees or your marks. They're looking at what are the kind of projects you worked on, what are the skills you acquired.
Yeah.
So if I look at it from a very objective perspective, you're also building your child's profile as well as their skills and learning experiences.
Absolutely. What is a message that you would like to give an Innoventure student who's been associated with Innoventure, who's now gone on to become a filmmaker or anything in the creative field? What do you want them to remember from the journey they had with you?
That's beautiful. I think I would love when they don't just remember that as an initiative or a course or a challenge, but as an experience, like I said, that made them unlock and believe in their own potential and inspire them to pass on that legacy of inspiration in whatever they do for a larger cause, right? And that's happened. I mean, I'm so glad you asked this, because we have children even writing down to me today saying, you know, that experience and all those ones changed the way I live life, right? Because you know, skills or self-belief can change the mindset, but then once that self-belief comes in, it changes your life.
Absolutely.
And I really hope every child remembers remembers Innoventure and their experience for that.
Amazing. I'd love to ask you, what does innovation mean in the media entertainment industry?
I think media and entertainment have a huge role and responsibility in society, because they not just mirror, they also subtly influence how the entire generation thinks, right?
Absolutely.
So when we talk about innovation, we're not talking about new products or programs or shows or character, but whether it's a character or an initiative that we build up or a movie, any of these,
I get it.
It's how do we create perspectives and narratives which empower the generation with the right kind of mindset. I think if that's how we're innovating, it's the perfect medium to build the Bharat we're looking at.
I love that. With that, Pranjal, I would love to thank you for giving us your time today. This was Made for Media at the Indian Institute of Creative Skills. We hope you took some creativity, curiosity and innovation back home with you. Stay tuned for all of the amazing things this collaboration is going to hold for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was a joy being here today.